Hi, John with eTrailer. Listen, if you're ready to hit the road but you want to take your Kia with you, then you need a base plate. And check out the one that we installed. This is the Roadmaster Direct-Connect Base Plate that we installed on our 2016 Kia Soul. Your base plate is going to be the physical connection that's actually mounted on your Kia, and it's just a part of all of the other components that you need for flat towing. You're also going to need a tow bar, you're going to need diode wiring, supplemental braking system, and safety cables. Right now we're going to be focusing on the base plate and how does it operate. Well, going down the road, of course, it's going to tie directly in right here with these arms. When you get to wherever you're going, you're going to disconnect these. So you'll pull the safety chains off, your electric, all of this stuff, and you'll pop the pins from your tow bar and then just get it out of the way just for the demonstration purposes here. Now you can ride around town with these arms on, or if you just want a more of a stock factory look, you can pull the pin and these rotate out and you can store these in your trunk until you need them again. This Roadmaster base plate is a nice option, I think, for this Kia as far as the looks of it. You know, it keeps everything pretty well hidden, so you have mostly a factory look up here. It came with some dowels on here to mount up your diode wiring, which is also what you need. We were able to tie in on the bar itself for our breakaway switch. So all in all, it has everything that you need to tow your Kia down the road. Now, as far as installation goes, this is one of the more involved things that you're going to do. But with everything that comes with flat towing, if you have diode wiring and a supplemental braking system that you need to install, all of this should be done at the same time, in my opinion. There's just a lot of work. So you're going to be pulling the front fascia off. There is some drilling that you need to do. So if you're wondering if you can do this in your driveway, or if you just want to see what it takes for a shop to install this on your Kia, stick around and I'll show you step by step. So to begin our installation, we're going to want to raise the hood, and the very first piece that we want to remove is going to be this upper plastic portion on the core support. You're going to have some plastic fasteners, and could be 10mm bolts. On ours today, we have a Phillips head fasteners here, so we're going to get these removed. For these push pin fasteners, you want to lift the center first. You don't have to come all the way out, but enough that you'll be able to pull the bottom portion out as well. So start in the middle, then pull up the outside. Keep in mind, if these do break, a lot of these are now available at auto parts stores. They used to be kind of hard to find, but you can pick these up at the auto parts store. Once you get all your fasteners removed, this should be loose, and the air box should pop right off. There's no other fasteners holding this on, so we will be reinstalling this later, so set this off to the side. Keep your Phillips head screwdriver. You're going to come to both wheel wells, and you're going to have a Phillips head screw that's holding these two panels together. So we're going to remove this. Now, if you can't get your screwdriver in here, it looks like this can also be a 10mm. If you have a socket set, you can probably use that to separate these. So, yeah, 10mm or Phillips head. Do this on both sides. Now you can come underneath the Kia here. We need to remove this large splash shield here. It's going to be a combination of 10mm and push pin fasteners. So you probably want a 10mm socket and your pick or your flathead screwdriver. It's going to be the fasteners, just like earlier when we took the core support off. So you're going to have some plastic fasteners along the front as well. Our vehicle today was missing some. That's why it's down right now. But you can use a trim panel tool or the pick. It depends on whatever fastener your vehicle's going to have. It's not a big deal, but you just don't know what to expect. So the main goal here is just to get this pan out of the way and disconnect it from our front fascia, and that's what we've done. And if you follow the fascia around and tug on it, you're going to see over here, we're going to have a push pin fastener that we need to remove because this is attaching it to the fender well. So we need to do this on both sides. Now we can come over to the wheel well side again. Now I've used some painter's tape and I just put this on the seam so that way when we separate it, we're going to minimize the risk of scratching the paint. I've also got a plastic trim panel tool. This could help us when we go and separate these two. So you come down and grab on the inside and you'll see this piece start to move, and that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be pulling out on this. There'll be a series of clips. So these are the clips that we're looking at. There'll be a little black plastic clip that's holding this in where the orange is right here. So just take your time. So this one by the headlight, really needed to give it a tug up on it to get that to come out. And then you'll have the same types of clips around the headlight. Our vehicle does not have fog lights. If you have fog lights, you're more than likely going to have an electric harness down here that you'll have to disconnect. We don't. So we'll get this other side off here. And then right here at the corner of the headlight, there'll be a little metal catch. I'll show you here. Let me pop this one off. So what I'm doing is I'm lifting up. Right here, we've got a plastic panel that we need to pry up and pop this loose. So a flathead screwdriver is going to be your best bet. The other side came off. There we go. So it was right here. Now we should be able to remove the front fascia. And like I said, our model does not have fog lights, so we don't have to worry about that. So now we can just set this off to the side. So you're going to have these plastic air dams. We need to remove these, and they won't be reinstalled. They clip on, so maybe you can just take a screwdriver and kind of work that clip. If you're having trouble, I'm using a pick here, and I was able to fit the pick, and I'm kind of pushing back at the same time. You can see this clip and then this metal here. You can do that and slide it out to the side because this bottom piece doesn't want to clear the front impact beam. And as usual, something that shouldn't be too difficult is kind of being difficult to get off of here. So the pick definitely helps when you're removing these. So set these off to the side once you get them off. Now we're going to be removing the front impact beam in a minute. First thing we need to do though is get this air temperature sensor removed from the beam. I've got a trim panel tool, and we're just going to lift up. We need to get the sensor and the harness off of this. And if it's connected anywhere else, which it looks like we're okay here. Now to remove the impact beam on both sides, you're going to have an assortment of 12 millimeter and 10 millimeter bolts. Now this isn't too heavy. You can pull it straight back and off and set this off to the side. Now on either side of the vehicle, you're going to want to take a 3/8 inch drill bit, and we're going to enlarge. There's two existing holes if you look inside where the bumper beam was. And we need to enlarge these. So there's going to be 4 total. It's 2 per side, these guys right here. Now once you have your holes drilled out, you're going to take a rear frame brace. Now you're going to get 2 of them in your kit. Now these are side specific, so we need them to be oriented like this, where you'll have the oval slot on the right. This is going to be on the driver's side, and it's going to be like this. The oval slot on the bottom and the threaded portion in the top. This is going to slide behind this support here. In your kit, you're going to get a 1/2 inch by 2 inch bolt. That's going to get thread through the backside. Make sure it's locked in. And this is what we're going to be bolting it up with from the inside. It's a 3/8 by 3/4 hex bolt, and then you're going to have a lock washer as well. Now, something to keep in mind, the instructions, you're going to have to use Loctite Red on all the bolts when we're assembling this. This does not come in the kit, so make sure you pick some up either here at etrailer or somewhere you can source it elsewhere, but Loctite Red is required. This is going to slip in. It's going to be kind of tricky. It's going to slip in behind, and then we'll line it up with the holes that we just drilled out. Apply some Loctite Red. And you'll be able to look through and line up the plate and then get the bolts in. It's going to be hard to show on camera, but this is going to be in the top hole that we drilled here. I'll get this started and then show you. Right there, like that. The top bolt is loose right now, and in your kit, we're going to grab another 3/8 by 3/4 bolt and lock washer, and then we're going to have a handle nut here that we're going to use. So kind of the same scenario. We're going to Loctite Red the bolt, and we're going to be bolting in through there. The handle nut, you're going to see a slight flange. That's going to be the outside. It needs to thread in this way. It slips in. You're basically behind it right now, and this is going to slip in behind this flange that's on the support, but in front of this plate here. So it'll slip in right here, like this, and then we'll thread it down and get it secured. We are getting ready to torque these. I just wanted to show you the basic setup here, and this is what we're looking at. Look, I did have a heck of a time trying to get the handle nut on the back side of that, so this is something where you're definitely gonna have to take your time. I kind of came in from the bottom on the back side. It was hard to show on camera, but you know, it's just it is possible. So we're going to torque these down now. The instruction manual is going to have the torque specs for all the different size bolts, so make sure that you read it. It'll be near the back, and then make sure you pick the correct torque setting for the correct size bolt. When you're doing this, work one side at a time, just like we're doing today, because we have the Loctite Red. We don't want that stuff to dry on us on accident, and then try to come back later and move stuff around. So we're started here on the driver's side. We're going to get these torqued up, and then we're going to do the exact same thing over here on the passenger side. Both sides torqued and installed. We can replace our bumper beam, get this back on the car. And since this is going to be a structural component of the base plate as well, we're going to be tying into it. We are going to apply some Loctite to the factory bolts when we reinstall and torque them. Once the bumper's on, go back to your kit, grab a 1/2 inch by 2 inch bolt, and you're going to have these backing plates here too. You need to put one of those on, and then from the back side, you're going to see an existing hole here in the frame. We're going to feed this through this existing hole. Go way, and then put another backing plate over it. Now do that on both sides. Now you can take your base plate. It's going to be oriented in this position where the tabs here, the wiring is going to be more towards the right side. Those bolts we just put in are going to go through here. And then in your kit, you're going to have a 1/2-inch lock washer and then a hex nut. So guide that through the hole in the base plate, set the lock washer, and get a hex nut on there. And do the same thing for the other side. Okay, now we're going to leave all these loose for right now while we get the other hardware on there. Take a U-bolt, and you'll see on the main base plate here, you're going to have the holes. It's easy enough to line up. And we'll put the U-bolt through, and then in your kit you're going to get some flat washers, lock washers, and hex nuts. So put the flat washers on first, then the lock washer, and then the hex nut. So again, keep your hardware loose right now. We're going to tighten all of this at the end once we get everything lined up. Now you'll get 2 brackets in your kit that look like this. They aren't side specific, but they will have to be oriented in the right direction. So we're starting over here on the passenger side. The single hole goes up here on the frame rail with that bolt that we installed earlier. So you'll put the bracket on, use the lock washer, and then the hex nut. And again, just put this loosely on right now while we get everything lined up. Then you can drop the bracket down. You'll see 2 holes in the base plate, and this is what we're lining up. And if these holes don't line up, just flip the bracket over and then they will. You're going to get 1/2-inch by 1-inch bolts in the kit. Just slide those through and then finish those on the other side with a lock washer and the hex nut. Again, we're leaving all of this loose right now. And then do this same thing on the other side. Now that we have all the hardware in place and kind of mocked up, we can go back and tighten up all of the bolts to the specs that you're going to find in the installation manual. Don't forget to add red Loctite to everything that you've installed here. Now the instructions don't say what to tighten first. I'm going to start with this bracket because this is going to straighten us up from left to right, and then I'll probably do the bolt that's coming through on the back side and can finally end with the U-bolts. Now once you have everything torqued down to the specs, we can reinstall the air temperature sensor back on the impact beam. As far as physical installation of the base plate here, that's it. It is installed, but if you're installing diode wiring and a supplemental braking system, as we are on this, now is the time to do it. When you have the front end off, it's just going to make it easier for you to install all of the components and everything else. So if you're not doing that, if you're just looking at this video for a base plate, just fast forward and we'll show you, because we still have to trim the fascia before we put it back on. Now when it comes to reinstalling our fascia, there's going to be a few things that we need to do. We do have some minor trimming that we're going to need to do where the arms are going to go in down here. Now to get this on, I've just got it kind of clipped on right here. It's not going to fall off, but I didn't bolt it on, I didn't do anything. With our safety cable supports here, they're kind of sloped down, so to reinstall this, we kind of had to swoop it up from the bottom and then snap it up on top. And I'm just going to take a marker and I'm going to mark on either side of where the arm is going to go in. Now the directions are going to have a diagram for you to do this. I recommend doing it this way because each car is a little bit different, and the last thing you want is a big hole up here that's going to be in the wrong spot or something else. This was really easy to put on and to take off, and to make sure that we get a nice clean cut this is what I recommend doing. So I was able to trim this out 2 ways. One side with an oscillating tool, the other side just my razor knife. It was a little difficult, but it cut through it, left a fairly clean cut, and we were able to not have to trim up on the front side. So it actually remains kind of invisible. The only thing that you need to remember is when installing the arms that this little pull pin would be to be installed down here at the bottom, and then it'll lock into place. If you go up, you know, you may run out of room. So for me, this is what I would do on my own car. I like stuff to look factory, and when it's out, you can't even see that it has to be trimmed. So this is good enough. And so from here on out, we can just go ahead and reassemble the fascia in the reverse order that we took it off. And that was a look at some of the features and the installation of Roadmaster's Direct-Connect Base Plate on our 2016 Kia Soul.